Good morning, everybody. We are going to do a little sermon or a Bible study here, really quick, which I've titled The Flight and the Father Running into the Arms of God. We just got through a really cold night here in Texas. It was 24 degrees. Anyway, I've got this sermon prepared. We're going to talk about running and what that means. We've all had those mornings where the weight of the world kind of feels like a physical lead blanket. We got emails piling up, the bills are mounting in the mailbox, the relationship is fractured, or perhaps we have the quiet ache of just not being good enough, and it's just simply too loud to ignore. In those moments, our first instinct isn't usually to fight, it's to flee. We want to run away from the pressure, away from the expectations, and sometimes away from ourselves. But here's the beautiful mystery of the Christian walk. When you try to run away from life, you often find yourself running straight into the arms of God. Consider Elijah in 1 Kings 19. He had just experienced this mountaintop victory. Yet when the world closed in on him, he ran. He ran a day's journey into the wilderness. He sat under a broom tree and prayed that he might die. He was done and he was fed up. He was running away in the truest sense of the expression. But then look at how God met him. God didn't shout at him for his cowardice. He didn't demand he get back to work immediately. God provided him rest. He provided him food, and he provided a gentle whisper. Elijah thought he was running into oblivion. Instead, he was running toward a deeper, more intimate encounter with the living God than he ever could have found in the busyness of the city. Then we can turn to the story of the prodigal son from Luke chapter 15. He didn't just run from his problems, he ran from his father's house to chase a life of independence. He ran until he hit the bottom of the pig pen. When he finally decided to turn back, he expected this lecture. He expected to be a servant. He was running back out of desperation. But the Bible says that while he was still a long way off, the father saw him and ran to him. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. He ran to his son, threw his arms around him, and kissed him. Luke 15:20. Your running away might feel like failure, but to God, it's often the beginning of the running back. The most comforting part of this journey is how Jesus interacts with us when we are in flight mode. Think of the two disciples on the road to Emmaus in Luke chapter 24. They were walking away from Jerusalem. They were walking away from the place of their greatest heartbreak and shattered dreams. Jesus didn't stop them and force them to turn around. Instead, he walked with them and he joined with their pace. He listened to their grief. He let them pour out their confusions. He received himself in the breaking of the bread. And Jesus is incredibly accepting of our walk. Whether you're running at full speed, limping, or crawling away from a situation that broke you, he does not stand at the finish line with a stopwatch. He meets you on the road. Today, we might think to ourselves, but it's different. We feel these kinds of examples in our mental and digital exhaustion. Unlike Elijah, who was able to feel alone in a physical cave, many today feel alone in a digital crowd. They feel alone in the sense that they cannot escape a system that was designed for them in some regards, although sometimes they want to be a part of it. For example, a job that demands you enter and leave at specific times kind of feels often like a prison rather than work. The constant pressures to perform or to brand oneself and to compare one's internal mess to everyone else's external successes leads to a very unique kind of burnout. Generation Z in particular carries this heavy burden of eco-anxiety and also of global awareness. When you can see every crisis on the planet in the palm of your hand, The urge to run from the news and from the hopelessness it brings is overwhelming sometimes. Many in these generations have run away from traditional church structures. Uh, excuse me. Um, because of hurt or lack of authenticity. So I've got some examples for you that might look like running, and we will contrast them with the God encounter. Running looks like ghosting, social media, which is isolating from friend groups or moving to a new city to start all over and escape the weight of expectations. In the silence of logging off, God meets you not as a follower or a fan, but as a father who loved you before you ever posted a single update. Running looks like doom scrolling or total apathy as a defense mechanism. But like the disciples on the road to Emmaus who were discouraged by the politics and tragedies of their day, Jesus steps into our disillusionment. He reminds us that while the world is broken, he is the one making all things new. Running sometimes looks like deconstruction or leaving the faith entirely because the house felt more like a cage than a home. But the story of the prodigal son reminds us that you can leave the institution and still be pursued by the individual. God is not offended by your questions or your need for space. He is the God of the wanderer, and he values your honest struggles over your hollow presence in a pew. Psalms chapter 139 verses 7 through 8 says, "Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there too." It shows us that we're never truly alone. It reminds me of the movie Forrest Gump. I don't know if you've ever seen it or not, but there's a time when he just starts running. He goes from coast to coast. He goes all over the states. People make big deals about it. They market it out of their own selfishness and greed. And when they ask him why he's doing what he's doing, he just simply responds that he just felt like running. But there's something hollow in that response because it really wasn't true. That scene took place right after Jenny, the main romantic partner, left him again. The pain in his relationship burdened him so much that he had to just take off. Then we see something painful at the end of his running. Although he could run away as much as he could never really run until he conquered his emotions. At the end, he turns around and says, "I'm pretty tired. I think I'll go home now." He had enough time to pause and reflect on his situation and find that at some point he had to face his harsh reality. His running came from his abandonment of his ideal. This may resonate with a lot of people. They just want to go home. But identifying home can be incredibly complex because everyone's viewpoint of home is different. When the systems of the world conform us into these molded and shaped, pre-designed boxes, it can be hard to accept God's offer of a heavenly mansion that is waiting for us. But in the end, it is and will be the best decision. So if you feel like running away today, know this: God is not a destination you reach only when you are good. He is the horizon that meets you no matter which direction you turn to. You cannot outrun his grace. You cannot flee far enough to escape his presence. When you reach the end of your strength and think you've run out of road, you will find that you haven't fallen off the edge of the world. You've fallen into the palm of his hand. Don't be afraid of your desire to escape. Just make sure that when you do run, you run toward the one who says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." So I hope y'all have a blessed day. We will get into chapter 12 of Ezekiel very soon. Bye for now.